True Sound Studios is in your ears.
Hey guys, what is up? I'm Weezna, and as always, we are here in my studio, True Sound Studios, and today I want to show you one of my favorite plugins to use on drums, but more specifically on overheads. So my favorite plugin to use on overheads is the CLA Drums, so the Chris Lordage drum plugin. This is definitely one of my favorite plugins to use on drum overheads. Okay, so first, the plugin is disengaged. Let's just go ahead and take a listen to what these drum overheads sound like. Okay, so, I mean, the drums, they sound good. Obviously, it was recorded in a small room. I was actually the drummer, and it's recorded in my live room, which is fairly dead. It's fairly acoustically treated. So what is nice about this particular plugin, and the reason why I like to use it so much, is the second you go ahead and engage this plugin, it already is going to do something to your overhead. So right here, this is the default setting. So I'm just going to go ahead and click this on over to overheads, because it's going to automatically, just from the very start, it's going to do something. So let me go ahead and engage this plugin. Now I'm actually going to have to disengage all these extra things, because this is actually going to go ahead and change the sound of it. And I'm also going to lower down the volume just so we can hear a good A/B between it being on and off. So this is just flat setting. The only thing we have right now is just this knob on the overhead setting. So you can hear with it on that plugin already does something to that overheads. We got a little bit more brightness out of it. You can hear there's some sort of EQ scooping going on, which does actually just make the drum overheads just sound better right off the bat. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start engaging some of these faders that we got: the bass, the treble, compress, reverb, and gate. Now, for drum overheads, I would never gate it unless I was trying to get some sort of sample out of it or something, or maybe gate out the other cymbals or something. So we're not really going to use that, at least on overheads. I'm going to do some other videos where we go through kick, snare, and all that. And in that case, we might use the gate. So let's go ahead and start out with compression. I really like to compress it first. It kind of starts to shape the sound. So particularly on overheads, I think the push is going to eat too much of the attack up. So just go ahead and take a listen with the push on. It's aggressive, but it doesn't change the cymbals too much, which is a good and bad thing depending on what kind of drum sound you're looking for. So I'm going to try, I usually like this one. This is the spank setting. This is kind of what I tend to use a little bit more often, especially on this type of drum sound. So let's take a listen to this. So I like that we are starting to add the attack to the snare drum that is being picked up through the overhead mic. So I like that. It adds a little bit more that aggressiveness to it. Personally, that's what I like. Now there's one more setting, which is the wall, which is a lot of limiting. For overheads, I don't always find that really works too well, especially in this situation. So I think right there with our compressor setting, that's pretty good. And obviously we can go ahead and adjust that afterwards. So next, let's go ahead and brighten these overheads up, because in this particular case, how these drums were recorded, the overheads are a little bit more supposed to pick up the cymbals more than anything, just because of my room being so small. So let's go ahead and listen to this. This is the bite setting on the treble. So that really does have a lot of bite to it. It could be almost, a little bit too harsh. So let's try the top. And bypass it. Yeah, I think that sounds just a little bit more musically pleasing. That bites is a little too aggressive. And then up top here is the roof. Now this is going to obviously boost some of that air, that super high frequencies, which doesn't always seem to work out with overheads, but let's just try it real quick. I mean, I think that sounds good, but you can hear it's starting to boost some of the snare drum, kind of that unpleasantness to it. So I think we're going to keep it on top. I think that makes it sound the best. So now let's go ahead to the bass section. So the sub. Now, since I recorded these overheads with large diaphragm condenser microphones, the sub might work out. Generally, though, I don't like to boost these like really low frequencies on the overheads. Kind of sometimes makes things a little bit too muddy in the bass frequency range. So I typically like to use the lower, and that's just going to add, you're going to start hearing the floor toms start ringing a little bit more, and our kick drums start to come through. Then we can always try, this is the upper. I don't hate that, but I still think that lower just sounds the best. It just sounds how I want this to be mixed into the rest of my drums. I think this is going to work out the best. Okay, so since we are not using the gate, the last thing to do is add the reverb. Now, me particularly, I really love this studio setting. So not only is there studio, there's club and hall. Now, both the club and hall might be good on, maybe a drum sound you really want to sound cavernous and like you're recorded in a massive church. Me particularly, I think the studio really does sound good, especially on these overheads. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this. I mean, I just think that studio reverb sound is just so perfect, especially on drums. That is why I pretty much use that. Now, obviously, you can dictate how much of that you want just through your overheads. I think a medium amount, that sounds good. You can hear it when it's soloed. When we put the rest of the drums in there, you're not going to notice it as much. So that is really how I use this plugin on my overheads. I really love the CLA stuff. Obviously, Chris is just an amazing mixing engineer, and I love his plugins because they really seem to do something a little different than some of the other traditional plugins where you put it on and you have to start turning things to really make it do something. These just make it so easy. So really quick, let's just go ahead and I'm going to mix these overheads into the actual full drum tone, and I'll pull this back up again so you guys can just hear what this sounded like and what kind of we did. And I'll go ahead and bypass this plugin, and you will hear what this plugin is doing to our overheads. So I think that sounds pretty good. You do notice that the cymbals get a little washed out. They could use a little bit more brightness. So if we just go ahead and just play around with this just a little bit, you guys will hear what this adding a little bit more of that treble is going to do to these overheads. So there you guys go. That is one of my favorite plugins to use on drums and very specifically on overheads, the Waves CLA Drums. So if you guys are looking for any more videos on recording, mixing, mastering, or producing, go ahead and check out the over 140 videos right here on the True Sound Studios YouTube channel. So thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, click that like button and consider subscribing for more content. So not only do I make YouTube videos, but I also produce tracks and I can mix and master your music. So once again, thank you for watching this video. I'm Weezna and True Sound Studios is in your ears.